Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Take a Stab at It. I'm your host, John Hoyer, and with me is
Jason Barch.
And we also have a special guest for you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Trevor Charity. What's going on, everybody?
Yep, and Trevor is a good friend of mine. I've known him for... How long have we known each other?
We met in 2006, so I would say 14 years. Does that sound right?
Yeah, long time.
You guys went to community college together?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we did. We went to Northampton Community College, and, Trevor's a good friend. He also didn't know my name for a year, so...
That's a lie. That's fake news. Nope, that's a lie.
Some of your friends still don't know your name, John. I wouldn't hold that against them. Jason
just says, hey, you with the glasses.
You're in my phone as podcast guy.
That's a good joke, John.
No, but I used to have a tooth that was behind my bottom teeth row. When I got that removed with my wisdom teeth, he stopped calling me, the kid with the tooth. Or so people have told me. I don't know if that's actually true.
No, it's liable.
All right. Well, anyway, so the reason we got Trevor here today is that we are reviewing the film The House of the Devil, and it deals with a satanic cult, and Trevor is a weirdo who knows a lot about satanic cults.
Finally, my knowledge being put to use.
Yes, it is. All right. So if you could, Trevor, just kind of give us a little brief breakdown of like some of the differences of like different satanic cults and whatnot.
Right. So, Satanism is kind of like not very like single-minded. It's not like one group. It's like multiple different groups. Like, so there's atheistic Satanism and then theistic Satanism. With theistic Satanism, they believe him to be a supernatural being, and they use him as like kind of like a patriarch or someone to look up to. Or atheistic Satanism, they actually just use him as kind of like a poster boy, and then they just usually use their beliefs in just atheism and political activism.
So the film we're about to discuss, they would be the theistic Satanism?
Correct. They're ones who use the rituals, the magic, and like all like, just the blood and the human sacrifices.
I guess the atheistic one wouldn't make a very interesting movie. They're like, oh, he's just a symbol. We're not gonna do anything.
He's just a brand.
He's like,
they just print a bunch of T-shirts and the movie's over.
He's just a cool dude. He's just hanging out.
He's kind of radical, man. He just hangs out. We just get some lattes together. We're pretty good.
Trevor, stop doing the hang loose symbol in the chat.
Sorry, man. I'm pretty.
All right, so before we get to our review, let's check in with what we've all been watching. And I see Trevor over here, according to my notes, saw a movie recently called The Rental. Trevor, why don't you tell us about that movie?
Yeah. So it's actually the first film by Dave Franco, James Franco's brother. And it's really, really like an intense movie that's like surrounded by paranoia. So it's about two couples going to rent a pretty much hard to get rental, kind of like an Airbnb kind of house. And they rent it, and then like a bunch of things transpire that, ramps up like them being paranoid with each other. And then while all this is going on, there's a serial killer like in the house, and you just don't know what's going to happen next. And it ends pretty like surprisingly. It's like shocking.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that's referenced in the trailer is that they find a camera that's in the shower head.
Correct.
And that kind of pulls the movie forward into, what are they going to do next?
Well, that stuff like really happens, apparently. Like Airbnbs are just a breeding ground for horror movie, a horror movie synopsis, basically.
It's crazy.
That's nuts.
I think, so with this movie, I also saw it, actually based on Trevor's recommendation. Don't say anything, Jason. Don't say anything.
We already covered that.
One of the cool things I think about that movie is that a good portion of the film is actually just the character dynamics of the two couples for about, I'd say at least half the movie, where it's not really quite a horror movie yet. There's some like inklings of that, but it's mostly about kind of just how these characters interact with each other, their relationships, and whatnot. So it kind of pulls you in a nice way that you can kind of feel for them. And then when things start, like shit hits the fan, you care more about making sure they survive.
So do you think Dave Franco has a history with horror? I mean, I haven't heard a lot about this one, so it doesn't seem like it's one that came out of the gates like a Jordan Peele or John Krasinski, how you're like, it's a known name that is now, throwing his hat in the ring in the horror game. What do you think? Does he have potential? You think he's going to keep doing horror stuff like this?
Like they kind of set it up to possibly continue, or if not, spawn off more movies, kind of like the same premise. It's it's really, really good. Like I thought, that he has the mindset to make some good horror movies. So
I think for his filmmaking, he's got some pretty good skills with that.
Has he directed before?
I think he might have done some short things.
Okay.
It seems like if your last name is Franco, you do a million things in the industry.
That's true.
But I think that he kind of has a very it's not too stylized. So it's kind of almost a little bit more of a classical kind of filmmaking style. But also that kind of matches this the stillness of characters being watched. So he makes a lot of good use of a film that's mostly takes place in one location.
Nice.
What do you think, Trevor?
I agree with everything you said. I think that the just the whole vibe of it feels very claustrophobic of just being in that one house, even though that they have anywhere they can go. It just being stuck in that one house makes it feel very claustrophobic and very personal with everything that happens.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of films that take place pretty much in one location, I'm going to transition over to what I've been watching. So the other night was scrolling through Netflix. I'm a sucker for the top 10. It's just attributed to late night laziness. It's like, oh, what's America been watching? And there was a movie in there called One Bedroom, stylized as the number 1 BR. And it essentially follows the plot of this young 20-something girl who's just trying to get away from her old life, moves to LA, dreams of being a star or what have you. And she's looking to rent an apartment. And she ends up in this apartment complex. And everyone's strangely friendly. And there's cameras everywhere. And you kind of start to realize something's up with this place. And I thought this film was actually pretty apropos for the series we're doing now, because it ends up being that all the members of this apartment are part of this hippie cult. And basically the film is them trying to get her into this cult. And they kind of mess with her mind a little bit. There's these psychological games, this torture, and they're basically trying to condition her to want to be there. The way they put it in the film is they want to deprogram bad conditioning that we've all kind of experienced in our lives. So they pick her because she's vulnerable. She's, trying to get away from something. She's been conditioned poorly. And, they, in their eyes, they're doing her a favor by putting her through all of this. And they hook her up to a lie detector, and they basically need her to say that she wants to be there. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting. That's another example of a film that it kind of all takes place at this apartment complex. And I was pleasantly surprised by it. We put it on kind of late at night to, kind of drift off to sleep to. And it ended up being really engaging. And, I thought it was pretty appropriate for this series. So I recommend it.
Nice. I feel like any movie that you put on just to kind of go to sleep to, if it keeps your attention the whole time, that's high marks, I think. Absolutely.
I mean, there's times when I don't even forget, I don't even remember what the movie was called that we put on the night before. We never finished it. And this one, my wife and I were both kind of into, so we finished it the next night. And check it out.
Now,
Nice.
Jason, I did have a question for you. Now, this actually did sound a lot like Midsummer, where the whole movie, the whole cult was trying to condition the female lead into, pretty much being, part of the whole, Midsummer process and everything. Would you say that would be accurate in the whole, your whole thing of it?
There are similarities. I think Midsummer was more of a psychological slow burn, where One Bedroom was there's more kind of overt torture. I don't want to get into too many kind of spoilers of what she goes through. But Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's certainly similarities. I hadn't really thought of that, but I guess just because the settings are so different. But yeah, I know that's a good comparison.
Look at Trevor. What a guy. He's already podcasting better than me.
Mr. Big Podcast Boy over here.
So John, I know you are absolutely dying to tell everyone about what you saw.
For my birthday, I saw Tenet and I loved it, even though I didn't fully understand a lot of it.
That seems to be the consensus with this film.
Yeah.
Are you like really eager to see it again? That seems to be kind of what people are saying.
Yeah, so while we're recording this is early September. I feel like because I went to a theater already, like I don't know, I don't want to tempt fate that I'm like, I go again to see the same movie. And like then all of a sudden I'm like, all right, you got coronavirus. You had to go back and see the same movie again. So I'm hoping it maybe comes to like a drive-in somewhere close, and then I could be a little bit more safe. Yeah, no, it's if you thought Inception was confusing, this movie is about like 10 times more confusing.
Wow.
It gets a little complicated, but also there's a part of it that's supposed to be intentionally unknowable for a good portion of the movie that it kind of delivers on as it goes along. But it is like a movie that maybe has like maybe about 4 hours worth of like twists and concepts in it that is pushed into a 2.5 hour movie. So someone's talking, you're like, okay. Wait, what did he say? And then the scene moves on very quickly, and you're like, I didn't get what Michael Caine was saying.
that I have a sense that was important.
Yeah.
Is it visually? How does it relate to Inception? Because Inception's, it's got a lot going on visually.
So it has a lot more scenes that feel more real, in a sense that they were filmed like on a highway. They're actually blowing up a plane, things like that. I don't know if anything really tops the scene in Inception where like the hallway is turning and they're fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, doesn't really get that wild, but it does have some really impressive like sequences that I do say like part of it is like when I say like, oh, I don't fully understand all of it. It's kind of one of those things where it's like I don't understand the like some of the logistical elements of things, but
sure,
it is an action movie at its core. It's like basically a more like headier version of like a Bond film. So I would say on its like the surface level is fantastic.
Okay. Yeah, no, I can tell that you really want to see this one again, because it seems I can just sense from the way you're describing it that there's a lot going on. And I told John before he saw it if his gut reaction was to tell me it was better than Inception, I wasn't going to believe him. I'm a big sucker for Inception, so
I would say Inception is overall, quite a bit better. I would say this is maybe a little bit more like mid-tier.
Is it like top 5 Nolan for you, or?
Probably. I would definitely say I think I like it a lot more than Dunkirk, which I thought that was pretty good. But
okay.
I would put it above like the Dark Knight movies, probably.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
interesting.
Yeah. No. Anyway.
So yeah, I'm a little disappointed. No one paid $20 to watch Milan. I was kind of looking forward.
Yeah, me too.
To somebody telling me about that, Trevor.
I can't help it. I was really disappointed that Eddie Murphy's Mushu was not in the movie. I was really upset.
There's no Mushu. There's no dragon
there's
at
no
all.
Mushu. No,
Then there's no singing, right?
Yeah, there's no singing at all.
That was like one of the best parts of Milan. Like they just take the singing away, they take the dragon away. What's left?
How do we know how they take a man out of her?
I know.
Yeah.
Or make a man out of her.
I don't know. I'm not going to pay $20 to find out.
Yeah, I heard it was pretty. The reviews seem to be kind of weak on that. So
yeah,
surprisingly, a Disney remake isn't that good. Wow.
Anyway, in probably the worst segue we've had so far with the podcast, we're going to move on to The House of the Devil, the main event that everyone came for. So the synopsis of this film is needing money to rent her own place and cut ties with her obnoxious roommate, college sophomore Samantha Hughes agrees to take on a bizarre babysitting gig in order to earn some extra cash. And we say bizarre, we mean pretty bizarre. Obviously, spoiler alert, this is a miniseries about cults. So that's ultimately what she ends up getting involved in. So yeah, I was a big fan of this. It's visually, it's very, has a very kind of 1980s horror feel to it. The
Mhm.
film itself is also set in the 80s. So I was saying off mic before the show how there were times when I was watching this film when I actually forgot, this wasn't a film that was shot in the 80s because it's that kind of loyal to that style. So how'd you guys feel about this film?
Well, okay, so I'm kind of a huge fan of the director, Ty West. This is his first movie I've seen of his, so I kind of have a soft spot for it because I watched it when it came out, and I think it was 2009. So like this was kind of my introduction to his work, and I just love his like methodical and deliberate pace to his films. You have like these nice like slow zooms, these like deliberate close-ups, the music's like the score in it just really speaks to kind of a film that really understands what would make the style of a film would be of that era, and just kind of like leans into that.
They modernize those aspects, I think, because if you watch some 80s films, they can do these zooms and whatnot, and it does come off as kind of corny. But I feel like in this film, it really worked. It kind of used these same kind of tricks, but put kind of a modern twist on it. I thought it was really interesting. And also even just the film stock, like I don't know if they added grain or if they shot it on like some different film stock, but it kind of had this like grainy quality to it, which really added to the time period, I thought.
Yeah, and I think like the color scheme of it, like it's not over the top, like color corrected. It does look like it's something that was just like lightly tweaked, so it looks like an older kind of film. Yeah,
and the art direction was great. I mean, I don't know the budget exactly. I assume it was a smaller budget indie film. But I've never made like a period piece, but it seems like that's something that would be tough to stay true to, and they did a really good job of that, and just kind of even the titles, the music, everything. It was very 80s. I love the opening title sequence. How
the freeze frame.
Pause. Freeze frame every time a name came in. I thought that was great.
Yeah, like don't you want to just pump your fist when you see the title, and like the text, the font of it looks very like old school too, and you're like, it's
awesome.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah.
So Trevor, what did you think of the movie?
I thought it was really good. Like you guys pretty much hit it on the nail on the head with all the things. I did enjoy how you were talking about how like the feeling of like the film grain look and everything. I felt the lighting also seemed like a movie that was like came right out of the 1980s, because it seemed like it was lit like almost like a Friday the 13th film where the light almost seemed like rather unnatural, but it also kind of highlighted all the stuff like a pretty much like a low budget horror movie.
Yeah, it has like a little bit more harsher lights.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like that. So like the day scenes is a little bit brighter indoors than maybe it should, but then when it's like at night, it's also like even when it's dark, you can still see that like you can still see everything.
Yeah, exactly. And also I enjoy the elements that made up the story of the film, because it definitely felt like a 1980s horror movie, because like it wasn't like as complex as like say a Hereditary. It's just something basic, but then also had like other things that a 1980s movie would have roped into it.
So one of the things I think maybe we should kind of talk about right now, Trevor, is that you were telling me off mic about the concept of satanic panic of the 1980s.
Yes.
Could you go into that for us?
Yes. Well, during the 1980s and into the late 1990s, there was a period of time where, like America was grief-stricken by satanic panic, because they believe that there are these satanic cults, that are running around doing a lot of evil, like satanic abuse rituals and stuff that involves little children and human sacrifices and everything, a lot against, Christianity and stuff. And actually during the late 1990s, there was 3 individuals in West Memphis that were arrested, were accused of doing a satanic ritual to a little child. And they were like pretty much in jail. Like one of them, like 2 of them had life in prison, and then one had a death penalty. But in 2010, they were released from jail because they did an Alfred plea, which pretty much says, you guys are innocent, but we have enough evidence to say you are guilty. Even though they didn't have a lot, they pretty much hinged it on like hearsay and like weak DNA testing.
Mm-hmm. So maybe to kind of dig into that a little bit more, the satanic panic was unjustifiable, right? That it wasn't really going on. It was just, most of it was scare tactics.
Absolutely. I think with the rise of heavy metal, Dungeons and Dragons, fantasy books, and like stuff that not normal parents, understand, it kind of created like a fringe, like, a scare of, believing that everyone is working for the devil.
Well, because wasn't there like some like bands, like heavy metal bands in the 80s that parents thought were like turning kids into like Satanists if they listened to the music and
and weren't there things like if you played certain records backwards, it was like some sort of satanic chant or ritual or something like that? I don't know. I remember hearing stuff like that.
Yeah. I know like Judas Priest was actually went to court to kind of defend themselves and other artists, because it pretty much, they were just using it at like, evil stuff as just the platform to get in touch with, the youth in that day, which were, just pretty much, outsiders to, the baby boomer adults,
Also, some of it was just the theatricality of like trying to be like, a band in the 80s wanting to do like, gothic stuff or weirder things, but it wasn't really connected to anything like actually fiendish, just more like.
Some of that goes back to what Trevor was talking about at the beginning with like the atheistic Satanism and how it's more of like a symbol than anything. And it's just kind of, it seems like in those times during the Satanic Panic, those lines kind of got blurred and people couldn't really decipher between what was, actually evil and what was more just for show or theatrics.
Right. It's like with most normal societies, if something new comes in and no one understands it, they shun it and they obviously get scared of it.
Mm-hmm. So let's get into the movie itself. So the main character of the film, Samantha, as Jason referenced earlier, she has a crappy roommate, and she finds a place that she can move into, but she needs some extra cash, so she takes on a babysitting gig. Now, I think that what I think is good about that, like the setup of that, is that a lot of people can relate to having really just awful roommates. So I don't know if any of us have any stories. Jason, do you have any?
For the most part, I got pretty lucky in the roommate department. I mean, freshman year of college is kind of weird. Our paths didn't really cross a lot. We had different schedules, and we were cordial to each other. He was more of a morning person. I was more of a night owl, but we were both pretty passive. So like no issues ever kind of came up. And then, later on in college, I ended up kind of rooming with people that I knew, and I don't know, there's just general like kind of nonsensical drama that comes with the college scene. But yeah, I think for the most part, I never had a roommate that would make me want to go like find my own place. But it's my understanding that you guys may not have been the case.
So for the listeners here, Trevor and I, we ended up having the same, one person being both of our roommates a year apart.
Yeah.
So, let's.
It like how did that come to be? Was that coincidental, or did you like?
So we'll use we don't know if he'll listen to this, but we'll say Ray. So at Northampton, so Trevor roomed with a friend, Ray.
Yes, Ray.
And then when I went to Temple, he also went to Temple too, and I ended up rooming with him for 2 years, and by the second year, I wanted to kill him. So, Trevor, you have a good story that involves Halo 3, and I would like you to tell it.
So, like any college student, I was big into Halo, and Halo 3 was coming out, and unfortunately, I did not have a ride. I know Ray, he had a car available, so he, along with 2 other people from our dorm, we all drove up to the local mall to pick up Halo 3 at midnight. Yeah. Like, I want to preface this, midnight, and in like November, so it was really, really cold that night. So we were talking about what we were about to do, and they were like, oh, I can't wait to play multiplayer and all that stuff, acting like it's their game. But in reality, I'm like, well, I want to go through the story mode. I want to just beat the story before I jump into multiplayer. And so they were like, oh, okay. And then Ray decided to say, well, good luck getting home, and pretty much left me there to try to find a way to get back home from a mall November at midnight.
So it's not like an area that's like easily like walkable. It's built up with highways and whatnot. So
Yeah. And there's no like local transport. There's no like buses or taxis that are going there.
basically what what we're getting at here is is a piece of Ray is a piece of shit.
Oh, whoa.
So Ray ended up being my roommate when I moved to Temple. First year, we had to share a room together, which was difficult, but not too bad. And then but we figured since the second year that we were going to be living together, we were getting a house with some other people that we wouldn't be like on top of each other, so it'd be easier. We had this issue where Ray was a very cheap man. Like the rest of us would get a job part-time while we're going to school, and we would, each of us would for like, okay, this month one of us will get toilet paper. Next month they'll do that. When it was his turn to get toilet paper, he would go into the like student center and then unroll the toilet paper by hand, stuff it in his pocket, and bring it back. He also, because he didn't want to pay for milk, we would tell him, all right, it's your turn to get milk when we're done with this carton of milk or whatever. So he would keep filling it with water.
What?
And so that way the milk would never dissipate.
No, that's sociopath behavior, John.
That's not how it works.
So he kept doing that until it became like the white milk became like waterier and like it like,
wait, how? Okay,
until it became just water.
It was his turn to buy milk, so he filled an old milk jug with water.
No. Sorry. When we finished the milk jug that we had, it was his turn to buy milk. So when he would drink milk out of it, he would then top it off with water.
What, just to like prolong needing to
get milk.
What?
So then he started doing this thing where he went into the I forget what the name of it was, but there was that center where you could get like, you pay like a certain amount and it's like all you can eat, all you can drink or whatever. Yeah, so he would bring water bottles in and then fill the water bottles with milk and then bring them back.
Oh my
God.
Okay, now worst of all, here we are, guys.
There's a worst. Wow.
Yeah, this is where it was all leading to.
Okay.
Worst of all, Ray, when it was like summertime and I was away for a couple weeks at back home in New Jersey, and when I finally came back to Philly, my deodorant was fully used up. My body wash was significantly depleted, as was my shampoo. So I thought that's very weird. So I grab his shampoo body wash bottle, I pour it out, and he just had it filled with water and just had it made it seem like he was using his, but really he was using my stuff all this time.
My God.
And the only reason why I wouldn't think about it, because when I was using it daily, you wouldn't really notice the difference. So what I did was I told all my other roommates about it. So everyone took all of their stuff out of the bathroom and would just bring their toiletries with them when they would use the shower.
Yeah.
And what I did was to send the message home to Ray.
To Bray.
to Bad Ray. Was that I took the bottle that he was using, I used scissors, cut it in half, and rested it on top of the trash in the bathroom. So the next time I go in the bathroom after he's been in there, it's duct taped back together, filled with water, and put back in the shower. So I took the duct tape off, threw that in the trash, and then separated them more and put them on top of the trash again. So I leave, I go back, he had duct taped it even more together.
What?
And back. So then I decided if he wants to play, we're going to play, okay? So what I did was I took the duct tape off again. I then left half of the container on the trash. I took the other half. And then when I went to work, I walked down the block and then found a random trash can to throw the other half of the container in.
Okay.
So I go to work, I forget about it. I get a phone call from one of my roommates. No, not a phone call. He texted me saying, "Did you do something to?" And I go,
Ray.
So I said, why? What's happening? And he tells me, well, he has poured the whole kitchen trash on the ground in the kitchen, and he won't say what he's looking for.
Oh my God, Jesus!
What is his angle here? He's just gonna fill it with water.
He's a homeless Captain Planet. He keeps recycling.
Water comes out of the shower head. Like, why does he need it in a bottle?
Well, I guess it was
the illusion is gone. There is duct tape everywhere.
It made no sense. Now, here's the kicker, okay? Now, you would think I've won. I should let it be. No, I didn't. So I waited till I got back, and I saw a CVS plastic bag in the trash. So I picked out the CVS bag, and I found the receipt for the deodorant, shampoo, and body wash that he had bought finally for himself. So I took that and I taped it to his door. Apparently, he preemptively told our neighbors that I was going crazy about some conspiracy about him using our body wash or something.
He wanted to control the narrative.
Like a normal human being would do.
So this is quickly becoming scarier than the film we're talking about. Okay, I can justify the toilet paper because that's savvy. Like, people have done that, whatever. It's single ply, but you can get past that. But
yeah.
I mean, dude, the milk, the using your stuff, like what, going through the trash? Is this guy okay?
Like, this guy, he literally is like a serial killer in the making. Like, he would wear flip-flops during the winter. Like, who does that in Philadelphia?
Okay, on top of that, our other neighbors, we had an abandoned house that was filled with homeless people. And so they were all like recovering addicts. They were very nice with us. We kind of would like give them food and stuff here and there. The main guy of that group was Craig Mack. And Craig Mack used to make fun of for always having flip-flops on. So when they went to a homeless shelter, Craig Mack went and got sneakers for and when he gave them to got upset, and then all of the homeless people started laughing at him.
Oh my God.
I need an update on this guy. Like, next episode, like, where is he now?
He's dead.
Trevor made sure of it.
So, okay, John, like, Trevor had a not so pleasant experience with this guy. And then your reaction was, well, why don't I live with him now?
I didn't hear all this stuff until after we had already agreed to live together and
the
whatever
lease was signed.
Yeah, and I felt like at that point it was kind of just, you had to.
What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, exactly.
He dilutes the milk.
Well,
he uses all of my shampoo and deodorant.
Oh, and the worst of it, when we were about to move out, he started going with like some of the homeless people that lived in next door. He went with them to do some like day labor jobs, and what they would do is I guess he would work with them on going into other abandoned houses to steal copper pipes, and then they would be in the kitchen and he would be cleaning off the copper pipes to then sell later.
I didn't know this. What? I did not know this. What?
My. This is going to have to be a two-parter. This is
Ray.
I didn't expect to be talking about this too much.
The floodgates are open. Who
we
cares?
got a script in the making at this point. Oh my word. Yeah, we're going to come back to this in a future episode.
Okay.
But for now,
let's move on.
So how this all started was Samantha in the film, which I have forgotten the name of because we got so off track. The House of the Devil.
The House of the Devil.
So she is looking for some extra cash to get away from this roommate, and
relatable.
She comes across one of those little flyers that have the peel off phone numbers and she calls it, and she speaks to this creepy sounding man named Mr. Ullman. And essentially what ends up happening is he books her for a babysitting gig, but it's not exactly a babysitting gig. He reveals to her once she arrives that she will actually be watching his wife's ailing mother, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so there's some negotiating going on. She says, this isn't what I signed up for. I want more money. And so she ends up getting $400 or $400 on top of her original rate, which she can't really turn down because that money is going to go towards her new apartment. So she originally comes to this house with her friend Megan, who's just totally creeped out by this guy who's like 8 feet tall. He's just a very tall man. And she's not comfortable with it, so she drives off.
Mm-hmm.
And then, John, what ends up happening when she drives off?
All right, so she leaves in a huff, and she's annoyed at her friend. And I guess I don't quite understand why she does this, but she does pull over to light a cigarette. And wouldn't you know it, she pulled into a cemetery. And of course, there's a creepy bearded man there who is like, hey, here's a light. And he lights her cigarette. They talk a little bit. And when he realizes that she's not the babysitter, he shoots her in the head and her head explodes.
Very abruptly.
Yeah, it's very shocking, actually.
Yeah,
it really is. You can smoke while you drive, right? I've never smoked a cigarette in the car, but I mean, you don't have to pull over into a cemetery to do so, right?
I'm guessing it's because she couldn't find a lighter, or she couldn't.
Yeah, she does try to use the one in the car. She has trouble.
Yeah. So I guess she's being safe with her, pulling over so she's doesn't get in a car accident. But once you know it, she gets killed anyway.
So the guy originally tries to be cordial and offers her a light. And it's startling, but she obliges. And
how nice of him.
Yeah.
So I had forgotten that scene happened. So when I watched it last night, I was like, I got like a genuine like, oh my God.
I actually remember when I was watching it, my fiance was in the other room and she was folding clothes. I audibly go, oh, and she's like, what? What happened? What happened?
She's like, when did someone from like New York show up to our house? Oh! Not a fan of that, Trevor? Okay, fine. No, but it is a very like shocking scene, and I think it's nice that the film kind of peppers these, like, instead of it being like things that you can kind of take as like, oh, that's kind of creepy, or maybe it's okay, the guy's just a weirdo or whatever. They actually have a scene that occurs that you can go point blank like, oh no, this is a horror movie,
right? And
there are stakes that are maybe a little bit bigger than we recognize right now. So it kind of appeals to that. But also, I think a smart thing that they set up is that when Megan leaves, she's mad at Samantha. So later when Samantha is calling Megan, she's not shocked that Megan's not picking up because she thinks Megan's mad at her. So it gives a kind of like an out to that. So that way you're like, oh, okay. Like, well,
yeah, that's a good point. And I know you had some opinions about Megan's answering machine message.
Oh yeah. Okay. So when she calls, thank you, Jason, for setting that up for me. I forgot. So when Samantha calls Megan, Megan does the horrible thing of having a voicemail where she pretends she's answering. Hello? Ha, you're talking to a phone.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this is a message. And I just feel like, I felt bad for her being murdered, and now I don't. Because you deserve it if you do that, honestly.
I mean, that kind of answering machine joke kind of went on much beyond the 80s. 90s, early 2000s, I feel like it was still happening.
Yeah.
And I even knew people that doubled down on it and did the, hello? Who's this? Hello?
Oh my God.
Leave a message. Like, and it just seeing how long you could take it. And
yeah, did that. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, Ray did that.
Ray was the guy that offered the lighter. He was wearing flip-flops. That was the giveaway.
So we see Megan get killed, and then Samantha ends up being in the house by herself, and she's, as one does, just looks around every room of the house to see what's going on.
Yeah, and at this point in the film, Mr. and Mrs. Ullman have left, and they said that, Mrs. Ullman's mother is elderly, but, she's, not disabled or anything. She can take care of herself. It's more precautionary. And they essentially told her she's pretty much going to stay in her room. She won't really bother you. So, yeah, she's kind of killing time, snooping around. It's a very old, ornate house, But
when she starts going into rooms and then just pulling open drawers to take a look at stuff, I'm like, I was like, have you not seen a horror movie before? This is really tempting fate right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, the real issue of what she does is she puts on her headphones and listens to a cassette and dances around, and then she destroys a vase. And wouldn't you know it, when she's cleaning up the vase, she opens up a closet, and in the closet are a bunch of pictures of another family. And the other family is hanging out. They have a photo with a Volvo that we see the older couple drive away in earlier in the film. So, that's not really their Volvo.
It becomes apparent that the couple she is babysitting for is not the family that lives in that house.
Yep.
So, not ideal.
No.
So, I guess, is it before this or after this? She calls for a pizza. So let's talk about the pizza for a little bit.
I do have a gripe with the pizza. First and foremost. Now, this movie is a good movie, but my biggest problem with this goes against pizza. This whole movie goes against pizza in general.
It's it doesn't look good for big pizza. Yeah, this whole film.
And the way she eats it, it's not like the way you eat pizza. You fold it. She eats it like she's a child. Like, come on, what's going on here?
So
she eats a lot of pizza in the movie for a person that doesn't seem like she appreciates pizza.
Yeah, I know.
Well, also, if someone shows up with pizza, I don't know, within 20 minutes of you ordering it, and it looks like it's been pizza that's been around for 3 days, I would think you might go, not into it. No, something seems off here.
They're getting a bad Yelp review.
So for clarification, the pizza does play a significant plot point. We're not just getting hung up on this. The pizza is all set up. Mr. and Mrs. Ullman, they strongly recommend this pizza place that Samantha ends up calling. They leave her money to get pizza. But it turns out the guy who delivers the pizza is the same guy that shot Megan in the head earlier. And this pizza is drugged, and it's simply a way to, get Samantha drugged for the rituals that will follow. But yeah, this stunt would be kind of harder to get away with these days because I don't know that I'm not trusting this couple's opinion of pizza. Like if they leave and they're like, oh, there's this wonderful pizza place. You must try it. I'm not taking their word for it. I'm going on Yelp. I'm looking at DoorDash. What's their plan then? They got to do the old knock out the DoorDash driver, take his hat, and then poison the pizza. It'd just be a lot harder. But yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I would say also with how overt, all of the stuff that occurs later after she wakes up, how they're actively trying to do harm to her, that, maybe you don't have to do the ruse of it. You might just be like, I have a hammer here. I'm going to knock you out or something. I don't I'm just saying,
it was almost like it was for the theatrics of they could have done.
I will say the man that kills Megan, Victor, so he ends up being the son of Mr. Ullman. I will say maybe they didn't trust him to do anything more than deliver pizza because he does seem quite incompetent as the movie goes on.
I would love to hear the internal squabble between them. God damn it, Victor, you messed it up again. You're always doing this.
He is, he does seem like the prototypical fail son.
They sit him down. They're like, we have this very important job for you. We're going to give you a pizza box, okay? You're going to wait outside. When we tell you, you're going to take that pizza to the door.
The problem is, there's no way that the last time he tried this method, he didn't eat some of the pizza first. They're like, did you really try to deliver 7 slices of a pizza?
And you drugged it first?
We found you in a ditch.
She wakes up, she's in the basement. They got her on like a pentagram thing, and they like do they do another pentagram on her stomach, and grandma apparently is hideous and looks like a demon. One thing I did enjoy about this is that she hurts everyone as she leaves.
Right.
She scratches the shit out of the grandma. She stabs Mr. Ullman, then gouges out Phil's son's eye, and gets up the stairs. And like, I feel like if it was like a more movie from the 80s, she would have just like ran out of there or got out very quickly and not hurt anyone. And in this one, it's like, no, she's going to do some damage.
I will say, like, she's tied up, and they're drawing the little symbols on her in blood, and they got the skull, and they're pouring blood in her mouth. And it's just all these rituals, and they have her tied up, but not well. It's like one attempt, and she just breaks the rope. I mean, that's a pretty crucial part of this ritual.
I'm betting Victor was the one who tied her.
Pizza Son was on it, yeah.
Victor, the one thing you didn't pick up at Boy Scout was the ligature? You couldn't tie her right?
Well, he dies in a confrontation where he has a gun and she has a knife. Who loses that fight when you have a gun?
Right.
She's
it was not a good shot.
He shot her in the shoulder, and then she's like, all right, let me slit your throat. And then he like dies. It's like, how does that happen? Not a good son. Not a good son.
Not a good look for Pizza Victor.
No wonder Mr. Ullman seems sad all the time.
So then after Samantha kills him, she goes to Mrs. Ullman, and I like this. It's the classic knife in the back. There's something very 80s about it. It's a classic move. It's not flashy, but it's effective. And I'm really glad they, held off saying any corny lines at that point, like, your rate just doubled, bitch. And then something like that. But I don't know. I appreciated kind of the classic
Stab you later.
Stab you later.
She's like praying to like Satan again about stuff. And it's like, why would you turn your back on the person that you're trying to,
who just killed your son who has a knife?
Yeah.
I
guess she must have thought like, well, she did kill Victor. That's not really that hard.
That's not a big challenge. He's a level 1 boss.
So she gets away. She runs out of the house, and then Mr. Ullman starts chasing after her. And he pulls the knife out of his stomach or whatever he was stabbed with. He chases her into the cemetery and then tries to convince her, like, oh, it's all over. Like, you're, what's happening is going to happen. So, just chill. Just relax.
Yeah, there are things happening to her during this. She keeps seeing flashes of Grandma Satan or whoever. And, she's
I think it's supposed to be her being, like, turned into a monster.
Okay, so she's kind of,
yeah.
And while
this ritual is taking over,
Yeah, and while this is all going on, there's a lunar eclipse going on too, and they kind of emphasize that the lunar eclipse is supposed to trigger the whole event. Like once,
yeah. That's a good point. That is a kind of
major part.
Something that pops up throughout the film is that this cult is basically waiting for this full lunar eclipse to happen so they can better perform their ritual.
What I kind of enjoyed about the movie is that at least maybe like 2 occasions, Samantha and Megan both reference how little they care about the lunar eclipse and how dumb it is. So, I mean, I think that's it's kind of nice that like the satanic group is like, this is the greatest moment ever. And the girls are like, lame.
Whatever.
So when she realizes that whatever is happening to her stomach is going to occur, she takes a gun out, pops herself in the head, and we think, oh, she killed herself. Because the gun she used is the gun from Victor, who, when he shot Megan, her head just exploded everywhere. But in this instance, apparently she could survive a headshot, and she's actually in the hospital, and the nurse reveals that she is pregnant,
and that's how it ends.
How it ends.
Did she survive this headshot because she's already being overtaken by this.
Oh,
That could be like a way the like self-preservation of the devil baby, you know?
I'm assuming. Let's go with that, because if it's anything other than that, then it's a very weird. Like,
it's really wacky. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she is pregnant with. Do you think is it Satan's baby? Is it just a general devil baby who wants to occupy Earth?
It didn't seem like. So if it was actually Satan's baby, I feel like they would have more of a group put together than just like
Right.
that this very lame family.
Yeah, like Rosemary's Baby. That was very clearly,
Yeah.
the son of Satan. And then this one, it just felt a little more general. And like they didn't have the A-team performing this
Right.
necessarily.
But they did say that they were communing with Satan, so it could be left up to like it could be his kid, but it also could be like I guess a minion that he wants on Earth. You know,
it could be one of the lesser players, the B or C
Like Ray.
team.
I think in all these films, we're learning that Satan just really wants a kid. It's like,
Yeah.
he wants to be a dad. You know,
he just wants to be a dad.
He's ready to settle down, guys.
yeah.
Yeah.
If we're comparing this to the other satanic cults that came before, we got the one in Seventh Victim and Rosemary's Baby. It seems, I gotta say, out of all three of them, out of all the satanic cults, I think this one's the lamest.
Okay.
I mean, all the guys in the Seventh Victim, they're kind of weenies, but like,
But at least in the House of the Devil, they committed. It's
Yeah.
like
that's true.
The
That's
Seventh
true.
Victim, they're kind of pushovers at the end.
That's true. I was actually wondering, what do you guys think of? So the movie is pretty like deliberately paced throughout, and then it kind of, when she passes out and wakes up, it's definitely a different style the rest of the movie. Did that work for you, or did you think maybe like, because initially when I saw it, I felt like it kind of almost comes out of nowhere at the very end, whereas I might have wanted there to be a little bit more build up to that.
Yeah, I thought it worked stylistically. The end is very frantic. It's not as deliberate as the beginning. There's a lot of handheld shots. It's kind of just general chaos. But I do agree that, while I liked the climax and the ending overall, it just felt kind of abrupt compared to the rest of the film. Like, it didn't quite live up to what was set up. I don't know. I mean, it not like enough that it like ruined the film, that at the end I was like, oh, come on, really? I don't know. I just wanted a little something more. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah, I kind of felt like if there was like another event of something happening that can kind of ramp up tension a little bit more, just like one more thing.
Right.
Right. I think if you saw what the Ullmans were doing other than Victor, like maybe that would kind of get you like, oh, what's going on? Like, it's like they just left.
Yeah, where'd they go? Did they just stand outside for a while?
Right, right.
They're in the mobile home that you see that's just chilling there.
Just living the Doobie Brothers in the car, just
Like on the back of the van, it says, if this van's a rockin', don't come a knockin'.
honk if you love Satan.
Jason, would you join this cult?
Would I join the cult? This one's a pretty easy no for me.
Okay.
The family doesn't seem fun. Bad taste in pizza. The son seems like a total buzzkill. They used to live in the desert. Now they roll around in a crappy van trying to impregnate someone with a demon. And I just gotta wonder, like what did they do leading up to this? Like this plan didn't seem that hard to pull off. They need a babysitter, a pizza, drugs, some rope, blood, and a skull. And so most of their time was spent waiting for this lunar eclipse, right?
Yeah.
And so how about the procrastination of these guys waiting until the day of the lunar eclipse to find someone for their ritual? Like, I don't know. At least they weren't naked for it. I'll give them that. All the other films.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was thinking like, oh man, Jason must love these black robes they're rocking.
Yeah. I questioned previously how in these satanic cults, it's necessary for them to always be naked, but the robes were a nice touch. I could get down with the robes, but no, it's a no from me. How about you, John?
Yeah, you know what? My bit was gonna be saying yes to every cult, but I'm sorry, but this cult sucks.
But
There's nothing
your
going
angle
on.
is always you can infiltrate them, and
Yeah, but like
these guys will be so easy to take over. You could easily get the pizza job from Victor, 100%.
Oh, well, Victor's dead by the end, so all I would really be doing is hanging out with Mr. Ullman, Tom Noonan, and he just seems like a sad sack. Like he'd be like, "Oh, what are we gonna do now? Well, we gotta make sure the baby's born." And like, it just doesn't. It seems like there's no like social like gains to be had if you like join it. And honestly, if the group has such a fail son like Victor in it, it makes me not want to be a part of that group. I'm sorry. It's a hard no for me.
Okay. I don't know. I think you're selling yourself a little short with this one. I feel like you could work your way up pretty easily. And I don't know. Then you could blank canvas. You could do whatever you want. You get a lot of pizza out of it. I don't know. Sleep on it.
All right, Jason, I'll think about it. I'll wake up tied down and like Jason's standing over me and I'm he's putting a pentagram on my stomach.
The whole time, like, do you at least give me good pizza?
So, Trevor, you joining the cult?
No, I'm not. They already have like a brick and mortar thing already set up. You know, they got a family business going on. And plus, you know, I want to have my own established connection with Satan because I don't want, you know, these guys over here, you know, they're like the wet bandits of Satan worshipers. So, and plus, you know, like, you know, if I would join them, I would probably have to help Victor find a pizza. You know, we would go into Walmart. He would go into Giorno's and I would find him at the Lego sets looking for a Lego set. I'm like, no, Victor, we're supposed to find a pizza for Satan. He's like, but I like the Star Wars figures. I'm like, no, you can't. No, come on.
Wait, why is Victor from Staten Island now?
I don't know.
Oh, where's my Star Wars figures?
Oh, I like that Millennium Falcon set.
So Trevor's a no. So you would probably end up spending a lot of time just driving that van around, you know, looking for other families to kill. So Trevor wants to plant some roots somewhere. He wants to establish a relationship
grassroots
with
campaign
with
or
Satan.
something.
He wants upward mobility in his satanic cult.
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything else to say, or are we wrapping it up?
Yeah, I think we hit on a lot this episode.
Yeah.
There's a lot to digest with this one.
There's going to be so much to edit. All right. Well, okay. Well, Trevor, we're so happy to have you on the podcast. We had a lot of fun with you on here.
Yeah, it was awesome to have you on, man.
Oh, thanks, guys.
We hope everyone enjoyed this episode. Next week, we will be reviewing The Invitation. So until then, stab you later.
Your rate just doubled, bitch.